Please join me in the pledge of allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Okay, roll call.
Commissioner Houston?
Here.
Judd?
Here.
Machado?
Here.
Jackson? Here.
Was that me?
Yeah.
Oh, here. I didn't hear Jackson.
Meeks?
Here.
We'll note that Commissioner Fisher's absent, Chairman Myers
Here.
present, and I'm here.
Okay, a verification of agenda posting.
Agenda for the Airport Advisory Commissioners. City of Hollister regular meeting of March 26, 2014 was posted on the bulletin board at City Hall on March 10th at 10 a.m. per Government Code Section 5494954.2.
Okay. Okay, consent, approve the minutes of the Airport Advisory Commission special meeting on February 26th and the regular meeting January 22nd, 2014. Do we have any discussion or comments by the commission?
I make a motion we approve as presented.
And a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. Okay, public input. Now is the time for any public input. Please be advised we can't act on any items that are, only items that are on the agenda. Do we have any public speakers?
I do not. Okay.
Okay, reports. Airport entrance update, landscape and pictures.
Actually, with your permission, I'd like to go off script for a couple items that have happened recently. First of all, first thing I want to do is introduce Tony to all of you. She wasn't able to make our first meeting, but this is Tony Warner. She's the new administrative services assistant or senior, I don't know. She's now at the airport. So welcome her, stop by, say hi, introduce yourself, and she's there to get us on track and stay on track and keep us on track and all that good stuff. So welcome her. The second thing is, I'm sure you know, but unfortunately the airport lost one of our long-term tenants, airport commissioners, and all-around good guy last week. Jerry Gabe, his presence at the airport, I thoroughly enjoyed. I always enjoyed it when he came into the office because I knew three things were going to happen. Number one, I was going to have a good time. Number two, he was going to make me laugh. And number three, I was going to learn something. I always made it a point to learn something from that man anytime I talked to him because he was one of the smartest guys I ever knew. He would never let you know it, but he was also one of the most generous and had the biggest heart that I've ever seen. So he's done a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff for the air show, a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff for the airport. In fact, we're going to talk about one of the last things he did was bring a company out to the airport, which could mean very big things for the airport in the future. So with that said, the city is working, we're trying to find a fitting way to honor Mr. Gabe out there. We have an idea. I have yet to talk to Mrs. Gabe about it, and I hope to make that call tomorrow. If so, the plan would be to go ahead and take the appropriate steps to make that happen. I did talk to Dewey Englehart, who is helping Mrs. Gabe with a lot of the airport business functions that need to take place. And he stated that they were going to go ahead and have an event or an honoring at the airport in May. So we'll make sure everybody gets the date for that at that time. Okay,
Are you done about Jerry?
I am.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to just recommend that when it comes time to adjourn our meeting tonight, that we adjourn it in memory of Jerry Gade. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, and then the other item that's not on here, and I apologize, it just came up yesterday. Apparently, I've done a poor job informing you guys on internet costs and what's going on and all that stuff, so I'd like to take a few minutes. A former tenant recently texted Councilman Scatini, and the summary of the text was that Mike Chambliss installed a high-speed internet connection out at the airport that's costing $23,000 a year. That is not correct, but as with anything, there's a little bit of truth in there. Just so you understand, the IT department handles all computer functions in the city. It's actually against policy for anybody other than IT to purchase a mouse, a USB cord, or a piece of software for a computer. All that has to go through IT. So Mike Chambliss didn't set up a high-speed internet connection at the airport. Furthermore, the internet connection for the city of Hollister, there's one. It's located here, and it's a DSL connection. And it's not high speed. Anybody who uses it would let you know it's not high speed. And it's also not costing $23,000 a year. Where the $23,000 number came from is, if you recall last year's budget, IT placed the $23,000 number in there as a placeholder because at the end of this year in December, we lose our free fiber optic link between the airport and City Hall with Charter Communications. Their franchise agreement is over, and we have to start paying for it. Charter Communications was going to charge us $23,000 a year to use that fiber optic link between the airport and City Hall. Has nothing to do with internet at all, other than the fact that for us to go out on the internet, it would run through that to get here to go on the DSL connection. The way our computers work is we have to be in contact with City Hall through that system to access certain software to get our work done. Software packages like AutoCAD cost tens of thousands of dollars. So we only purchase 3 licenses for the entire city. There's about 12 of us who have access to it, but only 3 of us can be on at any one time. And for us to use that, we click on the icon on our computer. It goes through the fiber optic to City Hall. City Hall sees how many are on there, and then they'll give me access to it. And literally, I'm running a computer down here through my computer to do that kind of work. It's the same on our financial software that handles all the finances of the city, et cetera, et cetera. So that's why it's important. Now, the good news is, recently, the county has bid a project to bring fiber optic from City Hall out there. It's city-county project. They're going to connect the airport, the jail, the sheriff's department, and the police station, all with our own owned fiber optic line, so it's free. So we're never going to have to pay the $23,000 that IT proposed. As a matter of fact, the city manager removed the $23,000 from the budget last year during budget review with the city manager. So I apologize for not communicating that clearly enough to you and the tenants, but that's what's going on. So I just wanted to get that clear so that everybody understood what was going on. Okay, now back on script. So the airport entrance. You folks, if you recall, I will let you know I was going to spruce up the place. We got some big boulders from the dump for free, and we're going to pull out the junipers and get some signs and all that. Included in your packet was my idea for the sign. I got some bids on the sign. We're going to use recycled lumber, plastic wood, which is where they take a whole bunch of recycled milk jugs and sawdust and make it into wood and carve it out and last forever. We had great success with those in the San Jose Park system. And we're going to try to get this done next fiscal year. I put a little bit of money in the budget to get this done, so.
23,000?
I'm sorry?
23,000?
No, not $23,000. It might
Check.
cost,
Check.
each sign may cost $700, I believe. Well, I want to put one on each side, so if you're coming from the north, you see one, and if you're coming from the south, you see one. Unlike the current sign that no one could see if you're coming any which direction. So. So, are you good with the picture? You want changes, or? I remembered you guys wanted to be consulted as a design review committee, so. There may be a tree or two involved that I'm not good at drawing trees on Illustrator, so I kept it simple.
It only shows 4 boulders, and you got about 100 out there.
I do. My plan for the remainder of the boulders is, you know, where we have the recycled rubber running all the way down San Felipe Road? And then at the corner, Ken Lindsay did that nice sign for his development with the oleanders, and he has boulders there. It would actually be to kind of put clumps of boulders in the recycled rubber to kind of break up the monotony and kind of continue that theme all the way down to the dog park. And we may actually put some in out of the dog park, too.
Are there any weeds or grass growing where the recycled rubber is now?
I haven't been out there because it rained, and, you know, we can't go out there for a few months after it rains. I don't think there's many, if there is any.
But you, when you put the boulders out, then you don't plan on ever having a mow out there, right? adjacent
No,
to the
we'll
fence?
put them in the rubber, and at this point, the rubber's about that thick, so
Oh,
there shouldn't be any weeds. But I can't tell you 100% because I haven't been out there.
Okay. Okay, the next item is budget update.
So this Monday, I met with the city manager's team regarding to the airport budget, and it went through with a couple minor changes. They wanted to get rid of the copier line item, so they took that money and put it in office supplies and deleted the copier line item. Everything else is pretty much the same. There was a little bit of budget action that happened that I did not have time to bring to you. As I stated when I was talking about Mr. Gabe, one of the last things he did was bring a company out to the airport, and the net result of that was I rented my building to them. I need to be out by August 1st so they could take possession of it. At that point, it was decided that we will be moving next door to 60 Airport Drive. We will retain the conference room only, and we will need to move all the operations over there. When we got it in there, the wiring system was inadequate. The bathrooms were inadequate, non-ADA compliant. The offices were inadequate. The building was uninsulated. The wiring was hodgepodge. So we made the decision to gut and rebuild. So I took a $40,000 supplemental appropriation to the city council at their last meeting, which was approved. $20,000 of that is to put a hangar door on the back of the building I am currently occupying for the new company coming in, and $20,000 of that was to begin the process of constructing the offices and everything on the other side. It was approved by the city council. At this stage, I'd say tomorrow we will be done with framing up the new offices, and we'll be beginning electrical, which is probably going to last about 2 weeks. And then we're on to sheetrock and other pleasurable things like painting. So if you out there, stop in, take a look, but that did happen, and I apologize, but I did not have time to bring that to you guys because we needed to move.
The money you talk about and everything, is that for your part of the building to remodel?
Half of it. $20,000 for the one I'm in to put hangar doors on the back so they can get airplanes in and out, and then 20,000 for Skydive's old building to build offices, or, well, to begin building offices. We will need to finish it with the HVAC system and all that in next year's budget.
So part of the remodeling is for you and the other part's for the tenant?
That is correct. And we will recoup this money within 1 year of the tenant occupying. Yes.
What's the span of that hangar door that you're going to put up?
I don't, is it 50 feet? It's pretty close to 50 feet. It might be like 45.
Are there any plans to do anything with the dirt between the existing pavement and the hangar? Or?
There are plans that I'm not at liberty to talk about yet because that lease hasn't been signed, but another potential tenant in that row of 3 buildings, their plan is to pave front and back all the way to the gate.
Okay.
Good. Hey, any more discussion? Okay, we'll move on to old business, air show update.
So the air show plans are moving along quite well. As you know, the air show's getting closer. The performer list has been finalized. The banners are starting to go up around town. You're starting to see them. There's still a discount on tickets available at the website. We have vendors signing up already, which is good. The TV commercials, I believe, I did approve them, so I imagine they'll start hitting the airwaves long about Memorial Day. I think the plan was to do a quick little blurb at Memorial Day and then ramp up as you go to Father's Day. They want to have some out there on Memorial Day for those people that are going to be missing the air show on Memorial Day to get the information that it's not canceled, it's just been moved a couple weeks back. The key off-property tenants have given permission to us to use the airspace. We're still waiting to hear from PRI and Don Chapin, to the best of my knowledge. I need to follow up with those 2 off-properties. Neither one of them are air show critical, but it makes it a lot nicer for our performers. Tenant letters have gone out. We've been spraying weeds to make sure we didn't have a problem there. The barricades that we're going to use for fencing have arrived. So all in all, I'd say we're as prepared as we can at this point.
I saw your table tent at one of the restaurants today. I think those are a good way to advertise something.
Okay, next item is meeting with FAA.
We had Dean and I traveled up to the FSDO a few weeks ago, I think, yeah, a couple of weeks, to meet about the air show. It all went swimmingly well, which I didn't feel when I walked into the room, because quite literally we came around a blind corner and walked into a room, and there were about 18 feds in there waiting for us, and that was not a good feeling. But it turned out that about 4 of them mattered, and the rest of them were all trainees, so they're going to be cutting their teeth on our air show. They basically said that we know what we're doing and we do a great job and keep up the good work. They really didn't have that many changes for us. They kept saying the same things, like make sure the propellers are away from people and other common sense items like that. So they did bring up the major encroachment we had last year during practice of the individual riding their motorcycle across the runway during aerobatics. And I let them know that as a result of that and some other issues, that the airport will be locked down like Fort Knox on Friday. Tenants have been informed that they will not be able to operate vehicles inside the gates after 8:30 a.m. And that is why.
Okay. Okay, want to move on to new business? Cal Fire update.
CAL FIRE planes actually have left for their maintenance. The base is still manned. They were fighting a fire out of there just last week. They brought the planes down for Sacramento again and were running loads. So they're in strength and ready to respond still.
I got a question. They still expected to, I guess it won't matter, they'll be here for the air show for sure,
They will
even
be
on their
here.
regular schedule, right?
Yeah, they'll be on full-blown operations. So as a result of that, we moved the air show up a little bit in an effort to be done by 3 o'clock, which seems to be the witching hour for CAL FIRE where they start really running. So we're out of their way.
Does this facility still have the same head manager as they had last year?
I have not been over there to check. They usually make that change right about now. And to be honest, they usually only are there for about 2 years before they're promoted out. And he's been there for 2 years, so I need to get over there and check to see who's in charge.
Yeah, the reason I ask is he seemed to
it
be
still-
very happy
is it
about what
still
happened
Nettle?
last year.
It is still Josh Nettles, so,
He's still there?
yeah.
That's probably going to be helpful, because he had a good working relationship with him last year, so.
Since we're talking about it, I wasn't here unfortunately, but were we allowed to park in their parking lot and the volunteers walk through?
No, that was a problem.
That's still a problem?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a big problem.
I think the general public thought last year that CDF put on a pretty good show themselves.
Yeah,
They had
exactly.
that comment walking up and down there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, the next item is food options. Food truck modular diner. What's going on here?
Okay, so I have stuff to report. First of all, when it comes to food trucks, we are waiting on the Planning Commission and the Planning Department to change the law as it currently exists that says that mobile food trucks must be mobile. In other words, they can't set up in one spot and sit there. I'm told that that should be happening in the next few months. I've been told that before. So until that happens, we really can't have a food truck sitting out at the airport because it's against the law all day long. So, but that still remains a short-term option. I believe we actually have a owner here present. I don't know if he wants to talk, but he is here. The other thing is I've actually been able to find a modular restaurant that could be purchased. Finally, I figured out the word you use. It's diner, modular diner. I put some information in here, and I know it's hard to read, but if you go to their websites, you can see it a little better. But long story short, you know, to have a 50-seat diner, you're looking at probably a little north of $500,000 to do the site work and get the utility lines in the right spot and plop this thing down. I did call Caltrans to inquire about the possibility of obtaining a loan of that amount to make this purchase, to put the diner in there. As you recall, we should have really good standing with them because we had a loan before, we never missed a payment, we paid it off early, and the same cannot be said for every airport they've done business with. The initial response was, no, that does not benefit aviation. Yeah. So I proceeded to argue with them a little bit and say, well, I would argue that it does benefit aviation because in the first place, it's additional rent for the airport, which helps make the airport more self-sufficient, which can only benefit aviation to have the airport more self-sufficient. That was the obvious one. The other suggestion I made was without places to go in your airplane, there's really no reason to fly. That's another benefit to aviation that a restaurant provides. So with those arguments, he said, yes, you have a point. So I am supposed to be drafting a letter to him, which he is going to run up the chain to see what the response will be. I hope to get that done here in the next couple of weeks and hear a response. He's out for the next 3 weeks, so I caught him on the way out the door, apparently. So that's what I've figured out.
What was the capacity of the Dingaling?
40? Probably 40 people.
Yeah, sounds about right.
And what are you looking at in this array?
Well, here's the issues. If we're going to buy one of these things, we need to make some hard choices. We need to set a time that we expect to recoup our investment by. Obviously, the interest rate will affect that. Current Caltrans interest rate is 4%. And then we're going to need to figure out a rent. My recommendation before we go down this road would be to budget to make the payments without incorporating any potential rent that we receive from this site on the off chance that it's not occupied for a period of time. I wouldn't want to build a house of cards counting on a whole bunch of money from something that might not happen, especially when we're dealing with something like a loan. Once we have that information, then we can back down to what a rent would be. I'm imagining the rent's going to be in the neighborhood of $3,000 a month, which is well higher than what the Dingling was rented for. It's about what something downtown rents for, I believe. And then the question is, how many seats does a restaurateur need to be able to cover that rent and make some profit? So it's quite the matrix we're going to have to figure out. I would prefer to go for the 76-seat model, but if we can't pull that off, the 50-seat model would be the one I'd go for.
Does anybody know what the Watsonville restaurant seating capacity is?
No, but we could go there on lunch on Friday and figure it out. Sorry.
Not reading all this, what does this include? This,
It includes commercial kitchen and
Right.
bathrooms, ADA compliant bathrooms, and the diner part.
so, did you say the kitchen part too?
Uh-huh. I don't know if the stove's included, but the place for the stove is there.
And the architecture is about the same as the picture?
It would be similar, yes. And personally, I actually think that look would work out there, especially if we went back to the Silver Wings name, having a silver building. I don't know.
Would the plan be to knock down the old restaurant then? Or
I would,
at least it's-
I would propose that we put this over by Mr. Gabe's hangar. We elevate that grassy area about 4 feet above the level of the ramp so that people can see over the wings, and put it over there along with the outdoor patio seating area with a few picnic tables and umbrellas. The only issue with that's going to be the wind, but that would be my first choice if money was no object.
So you're not optimistic of making that a thoroughfare or leasing it for a tarmac building?
Well, testimony's been provided about how important a restaurant is. I believe a restaurant at the airport ought to have view of airport operations to make it more attractive. So, to me, that would be a higher priority than driveway. And we don't have people beating down the doors wanting to build buildings there. And that particular lot appears to be doomed because three different people have tried to build a building there, and all 3 times it's fallen out, so.
Who owns that old paint shed or whatever it is?
We do.
We do? And that's not adequate there?
To put the restaurant over there?
Yeah, to knock down that. It's not utilized, haven't been utilized in years, has it?
No, it's rented out to the Hollister Space Project.
No,
But, I mean, they could be relocated and it could be removed and we could put it over there, yes.
I'm just asking questions.
No, no problem. I mean, to me, the best plan is we still get the Armory property back and we knock both that paint shed and the Aris building down and wrap the ramp around. So you do have your driveway to the rest of the airport, plus you create 3 more beachfront lots. And would provide an opportunity to segregate the glider operations from the propellers.
Have we been communicating with the state, the Armory?
I made an attempt, I'm waiting for somebody to retire, and then I'll go again.
I understand that one.
And it's about time.
Somebody's in the way, huh?
You got a general in your problem area.
Okay.
I think it was a colonel, but yeah.
Okay, next item is Airport Improvement Plan number 16.
AIP 16 is the runway rebuild project. It's proceeding as scheduled. In the near future, I'm expecting in the month of April, there will be some runway closures because we have to go out and core it again to the FAA standards because apparently they need a core every 10 feet. Yeah, they're paying for it, so. We're only paying 10% of it.
Is that every 10 feet of?
It's not every 10 feet, but I do believe they need a profile of every 100 feet, which is
Is that like
something,
down the middle, or you get 2 on either?
I don't
Don't know.
Yeah, it's beyond my scope, but I can tell you the last time we did cores, we did about 27 of them in one day. They were kind of all over the place, so we probably could have gotten 30 done if they were in a row. So I'm guessing about a week's closures. It'll only be one runway at a time. We'll keep the other runway open, and standard stuff, we'll try to operate on the opposite wind runways. So we'll do 2-4 in the morning and 3-1 in the afternoon. What else about AIP 16? We should be going out to bid beginning of May.
We could strike oil.
Yeah, we could. Or find Jimmy Hoffa, you never know.
Yeah.
And that funding has been approved by the FAA already, I assume,
Yes, we have our $4 million grant guaranteed, and we're positioning ourselves for 8 if it's available.
right? Do we have the matching funds right now to
We do.
good shape?
That will clean out our matching funds, but we do.
Okay. Any more discussion on the commission?
On the matching funds, do we have an interest fund on that?
I believe there's no interest on anything
Yeah,
at this
okay.
point.
The only reason I ask is cost keeps on going up and the money keeps on dwindling then.
Yeah. I believe there's some very low rate of interest that the city collects on the money. I mean, that was one of the reasons why we decided to pay off the Caltrans loan, because I believe we were paying 3% interest and collecting 1% interest on it sitting in the bank, so it made more sense to,
We were paying 5%,
5%.
5.25%, I think.
So our government interest rate is even lower than the regular people's. So,
Okay, next item is items for next agenda. Want to give an update on the airport entrance?
it's on hold till next budget,
Okay.
so.
And the budget update? No, we don't need anything there. Air show update. And the, under the new business, CAL FIRE update? Everybody agree with that?
Are you looking for something particular with CAL FIRE, or just,
This has to do with, where they're going to move in?
oh, well, there's no movement there at all.
Oh, okay.
It's the state of California.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
thinking that was part of the,
No, there's no movement at all there. No. No. They made improvements to where they're at, so that tells me what their mindset is.
Didn't they increase their lease dollar?
Yeah, I did. They didn't. They weren't happy about it. But at the last time we raised their rent, I believe it's now $40,000 a year at their current location, and that was a 5-year lease. So they probably have 3 or 4 more years on that.
What was before that? Curiosity?
20,000.
Oh. That's good.
and the landing fees.
And the rent for the place on the other side would be $80,000 a year. So my intention is if they want to stay put, they can pay $80,000. So next time we'll be doubling it again.
Yeah, the landing fees, when I put the 100 freebies first, right? That was,
For the new place, the
Yeah.
landing fees current,
it's $40 a landing, right?
it might be a little more than that, but yeah.
Used to be,
So they're 100 per year, right?
No, that starts at the new place. That's not in effect right now.
So there's no gift right now for?
No gift right now.
For annual?
They have to pay every time they take off the land.
okay. So anybody have anything else they want to add for next agenda?
I think we ought to go look at the food options more.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Particularly if city council is going to look at changing the laws for food trucks.
Right.
We want to go revisit that.
You want an update on the runway project?
Sure.
Might as well. Okay. The next regular meeting date is April the 30th, 2014.
We, the 23rd, right? Yeah, it's actually the 23rd.
The 23rd?
That's correct.
It's got 5 Wednesdays.
Okay.
Okay, I make a motion to adjourn.
Could I modify your motion?
I don't care.
I'd like to modify the motion to adjourn the meeting in memory of former Airport Advisory Commissioner and Airport Advocate Jerry Gabe.
I concur.
Concur, we have a second? All in fa-
Oh, he's on the second.
Well, whichever,
Oh, okay, I don't care.
as long as it's in memory of Jerry.
Right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carried.
Right.